Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be taking a look at Ingeborg Flagge, a pretty prominent figure in German architecture.
Absolutely.
And her story is, well, fascinating is an understatement.
Yeah.
She started as an archaeologist. Can you believe that?
It's quite a journey.
So we're going to try to unpack what drove her work and especially her take on architecture.
What I find so remarkable about Ingeborg is that she's the definition of a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Always going after new knowledge, taking on new challenges,
Right.
She could have stayed in academia, comfortable, in that world, but something drew her to architecture.
Well, it sounds like that something might have been her time at the Bonn Deutscher Architekten.
The BDA.
The BDA, yeah. Can you imagine just answering a job ad in Die Zeit?
Wow.
And then ending up shaping the future of German architecture.
It really shows her willingness to jump into things, to push her boundaries. She even said that she felt a little out of her depth at first.
Really?
Having to kind of learn as she went,
Yeah.
But that time at the BDA, even though it started in PR, turned out to be a major turning point.
That's where she really starts to, I guess, find her voice, right?
Yeah.
To become this architectural critic. But think about it. From griffins in Roman funerary art to writing about modern buildings, that's a jump.
It's not as big of a jump as it seems, actually.
Oh.
You see, in her doctoral work, she was looking at how those mythical creatures, griffins, how they reflected Roman anxieties about death and the afterlife and all that.
Interesting.
And that fascination with symbolism, with how societies express themselves through what they create, that carries over directly to her architectural criticism.
Okay.
She argued that just like those griffins, the buildings we make today, they reflect our own anxieties.
Wow, I like that.
About status, about image, about the future, all of it.
Yeah.
It's all there.
So it's more than just bricks and mortar for her, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's about understanding the deeper meaning.
Exactly. She saw architecture as this mirror, reflecting our values, our dreams, even our fears.
At a specific time and place.
Of a specific time and place, yeah.
So she's at the BDA, finding her voice, and she becomes the editor of their journal, Der Architekt.
Yes.
And from what I read, she really shook things up there.
Oh, she did. She wasn't afraid to push boundaries.
Yeah.
She brought in this fresh perspective, using her diverse background to really elevate the discussion around architecture.
But I mean, this wouldn't be an Ingeborg story without a little drama, right?
Right.
She ends up resigning from the journal in protest.
Yeah.
What was that about?
She felt that the quality of architecture was going downhill, and she wasn't going to stay quiet about it.
Yeah.
It was more than just a career move. It was a statement about her dedication to quality in architecture.
Wow.
She firmly believed that buildings should be more than just, functional.
They should strive for excellence.
So an advocate for good design.
Absolutely. For architecture that elevates us.
And that commitment to her principles, that leads her to becoming Bundesgeschäftsführerin of the BDA.
That's right.
Which, no woman had held that position before.
And no non-lawyer either.
Wow, talk about breaking barriers.
Right.
What was it like for her navigating that kind of male-dominated space?
It was definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
But she later reflected that being a woman, an outsider in many ways, allowed her to see things differently.
Yeah.
To challenge the established way of thinking,
It seems like she never shied away from a challenge. From ancient tombs to the BDA. Always pushing into new territory.
That's Ingeborg.
But did she stay at the BDA? Keep climbing the ladder?
Well, Ingeborg's path is anything but predictable.
Oh.
She ends up leaving the BDA to take a professorship in Leipzig.
What did she teach?
Architectural history and culture, of course.
Of course. She just can't resist that pull back to academia, can she? It seems not.
But wait, there's more, right?
Oh, there's always more with Ingeborg.
She doesn't just stay in Leipzig.
No, she doesn't.
Tell me more.
Well, hold on tight, because this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Ingeborg takes on a new challenge. Directorship of the Deutsches Architekturmuseum, the DAM.
Wow.
This puts her on the world stage.
Amazing.
But even at the head of this prestigious institution, she faces roadblocks, has to make tough choices.
This is all so fascinating. Okay, before we dive into the damn years, let's take a moment to recap what we've learned about Ingeborg's philosophy so far.
It's clear that for her, architecture is more than just like building materials, you know?
Right.
It's a reflection of the times we live in, a language that talks about our values, what we want, even our fears.
And her path to becoming this voice, this critical voice, was anything but straightforward.
Right.
From ancient griffins to modern buildings.
It's amazing.
She's driven by this deep curiosity.
And a willingness to challenge the status quo. But we've only just begun to explore Ingeborg's life and work.
There's so much more to uncover.
And that's what we're going to do next. So we've established that Ingeborg doesn't shy away from a challenge.
Right.
And her time at the dam really proves that...
The dam?
The Deutsches Architektur Museum, yeah.
Oh, right.
She takes charge of this prestigious institution and just jumps right in, making her mark.
What kind of mark?
More exhibitions.
Okay.
Way more visitors.
Impressive.
She even establishes the International High Rise Award.
The what?
The International High Rise Award.
I've never heard of that.
It recognizes excellence in skyscraper design.
Oh, cool.
So she's successful, making a real impact.
But then, another dramatic exit.
It's like a recurring theme with her, right?
Yeah, she's fiercely independent.
Uncompromising, driven by her vision.
What happened at the dam?
It was a clash, mainly over funding and support for the museum.
She wasn't getting what she needed.
She had big plans.
I bet.
Ambitious ideas for the dam.
Yep.
But felt she wasn't getting the backing she needed.
Must have been frustrating.
Oh, for sure.
But she didn't just complain.
No, not Ingeborg.
She made a statement.
By stepping down.
Wow.
It wasn't just about the money, though.
What was it about then?
It was about her commitment to the museum's mission.
Yeah.
To architecture as this vital cultural force.
Powerful.
She wouldn't compromise.
Even if it meant leaving such a prestigious position.
Exactly.
It's kind of inspiring, you know?
I agree.
She reminds us that sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that are true to our values.
Even when there's a personal cost.
Which brings us to another interesting part of her story.
Oh, yes.
Her writing.
Over 80 books.
80.
80.
That's incredible.
It's mind-boggling, really, especially with all her other roles.
So she leaves the dam
and
just throws herself into writing.
Well, slowing down doesn't seem to be part of her vocabulary.
Right.
She embraces this new chapter as a freelance critic and writer.
What kind of stuff did she write about?
Everything from architectural monographs.
Those deep dives into specific buildings.
To explorations of urban planning.
Wow.
The role of architecture in society, you name it.
She even edited anthologies.
Bringing together different voices on the built environment.
It's amazing.
It really is.
Okay, so she's obviously brilliant.
Clearly.
Driven.
Absolutely.
But what about her personal life? Did she ever, have time for family, relationships?
That's a good question.
Or was it just all work all the time?
Thankfully, we get a glimpse into that side of Ingeborg thanks to an interview she gave.
Oh, where?
In a book called Sie ist der Boss.
Which means?
She is the boss in English.
Catchy title.
And in this interview, we see a different side of her.
Really?
More reflective.
Yeah.
Even a little vulnerable.
Interesting.
She talks about how she never saw herself in traditional roles.
Like being a wife or a mother.
Exactly. It just didn't appeal to her.
And she found a partner who felt the same way.
Yeah, someone who understood her lifestyle, her dedication to her work.
That's great, to hear someone be so open about their choices.
Especially in a society that often expects women to follow a certain path.
Right.
Ingeborg defined success and happiness on her own terms.
And she didn't have any specific role models.
No, especially not female role models.
She had to forge her own path.
Exactly.
Wow, that makes her accomplishments even more impressive.
It does.
She wasn't following anyone, she was blazing her own trail.
And inspiring others to do the same.
Did she give any advice in that interview to young women today?
She did.
I'm all ears.
Her advice is simple but powerful.
Okay.
Get the best education you can.
Right.
Don't let anyone intimidate you. Embrace every experience and never stop learning.
It's all about growth, right?
Yes, about challenging yourself, seeking new knowledge.
She also talked about staying true to yourself.
Absolutely. Don't compromise your values. Don't try to fit a mold that doesn't feel right.
Be authentic. Be your own advocate.
Powerful advice for anyone, really.
And her most important piece of advice.
Be honest. Be courageous.
That's Ingeborg in a nutshell.
It is.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From griffins to the heights of German architecture.
It's quite a journey.
But there's one crucial aspect of her legacy that we still need to explore.
Her perspective on contemporary architecture.
Right, we touched on that earlier.
Her concern about the direction of the field, that stayed with her.
And it's in her later writings and speeches where we see her really grappling with the complexities of the built environment today.
Exactly.
So what does Ingeborg, this champion of quality and meaning in architecture, have to say about the buildings shaping our world today?
Get ready, because she doesn't hold back.
All right, so Ingeborg, this champion of quality and meaning in architecture, what does she have to say about the buildings that we see all around us today?
Well, I think it's safe to say she's got some reservations.
Reservations? Like what?
Well, she's been pretty outspoken about what she sees as this trend towards superficiality, especially in some of those big, flashy projects, the ones that dominate our cityscapes.
So she's not a fan of all those skyscrapers and, fancy museums by famous architects?
I wouldn't say she's against them, exactly.
Right.
It's more that she's concerned that sometimes the focus on creating this visually striking building, something iconic, it kind of overshadows other important considerations.
Like what?
Functionality, sustainability, even the social impact of the building.
It sounds like she's worried that we're building for the Igram,
Right.
Prioritizing those cool facades over thoughtful design that actually serves the people who use the space.
Exactly.
Form over function, basically.
It's not just about that, though.
Oh.
Ingeborg also talks a lot about the importance of context.
Context.
Yeah, designing buildings that respond to their surroundings.
Oh, I see.
Both physically and culturally. She believed that architecture should be in dialogue with its environment, not just plunked down without any consideration.
Makes you think about those buildings that just seem so out of place.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they're shouting, "Look at me!"
Well, actually, there's this quote from one of her essays that comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
He said that buildings should whisper, not shout.
I like that.
It's about harmony, not dominance.
Right.
And that ties into another concern she had, the increasing commercialization of architecture.
Meaning?
Well, she was worried that we're increasingly viewing buildings as, investments or branding opportunities, profits and prestige taking priority over creating spaces that actually benefit the people who use them.
So it's about remembering that architecture has a social responsibility.
Exactly.
It's not just about pretty buildings. It's about shaping our communities.
Absolutely.
And contributing to, the well-being of society.
She challenges us to think critically about the buildings we see every day.
Yeah.
To ask ourselves, who benefits from this?
Does it really serve the community?
It's easy to just walk by these buildings without giving them a second thought.
Right.
But Ingeborg wants us to be more aware, more engaged with our built environment.
One of the things I find so compelling about Ingeborg is that she doesn't just critique. She offers solutions.
What kind of solutions?
Well, she starts by encouraging us to ask questions.
Okay, like what?
Who designed this building? Why was it built this way? Who does it serve? How does it make you feel? Does it fit in?
Does it enhance the community?
Or detract from it?
Right. Those are good questions.
It's about being more mindful, more curious about the spaces we inhabit.
And demanding more from the people who design and build our world, right?
Absolutely. We have a responsibility as citizens to advocate for architecture that's not just beautiful, but sustainable, equitable.
And actually meets the needs of our communities.
Exactly.
That's a great note to end on, I think.
It is.
Ingeborg Flagge's life and work, it really challenges us to think critically about the spaces around us, to question what we see, and to really engage with the architecture that shapes our lives.
She reminds us that architecture is more than just looks. It's a reflection of our values, our priorities, even our aspirations as a society.
So the next time you see a building, don't just glance at it. Really look at it, think about its story and what it says about us.
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
Ingeborg Flagge's story is really a testament to the power of curiosity, conviction, and, making a difference in the world.
She leaves behind an incredible legacy that continues to inspire.
Architects, critics, anyone who believes in the power of architecture to shape our lives.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the conversation going.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us.